Welcome to the No Limits podcast, where breakthrough strategies in therapeutic education help neurodivergent children learn, connect, and grow in powerful new ways.
Hi, and welcome to the No Limits podcast for children with unique abilities. My name is Laura Jocelyn. I'm the CEO of Ability Plus Therapy. I'm also the co-founder of No Limits Academy, which is a school for children with unique abilities. And I'm also the co-founder of No Limits Method, which is our educational technology platform. With me today, my guests are Dr. Tally Foster, who is an amazing occupational therapist, and my business partner, Roberta Neves, which is also a physical therapist. We're going to be talking about one of our core values, meeting all the students' needs, and we're going to be talking about the first part of that, which is the physical component of that. We're going to have a conversation about why it's important to have that physical movement in classrooms and how that positioning matters, and also how that all connects between the two disciplines. And that's why the core values of the No Limits method is so important, because it also crosses over all of these methods. So we're going to start with physical therapy today, and I'm sure that Tally is going to have a lot to say, because it is a crossover discipline in our education system. And I guess we'd start, Roberta's worked in both public school system and in our private school that we started. Mm-hmm. And so, Roberta, a lot of people don't consider this. Kids sit in chairs and they want to be sitting at a desk, and they, that's how it's been set up for ever, education. And that's not what these kids need to learn.
Absolutely not. So, even in the traditional classroom with a child who doesn't have a disability, is not in the wheelchair, they need to move, right? You see kids getting out of their chairs, doing things. It's the same thing with kids in the wheelchair. They have to move. Research shows how important movement is for the brain, how to make the neural connections, how to stimulate the brain, how to keep someone focused and attentive to, whatever they're learning. So it's very important for any child to have the opportunity to move. Now, our kids that are in wheelchairs, they can't move on their own. And so we, as the teacher assistants and the teachers, they need to provide that movement for them in whatever opportunity that they can. So whether it's assisting them with that movement or doing it completely for them, and Tally can go on a little bit more too.
About why that's important.
No, I agree, obviously, with everything you say, and there are physical components that are important to continue to develop, but it's about supporting the regulation for learning, being able to help kids get to and be in an optimal state of regulation, so not too high, not too low, somewhere where we really absorb the most information. And like you said, Roberta, not being able to achieve that perhaps on their own, especially if they need positional support, then we have to come up with all the creative ways to achieve that. And sometimes that's still, sometimes that's moving, sometimes that's just finding the right balance for them to be able to be optimally engaged. I wish this were true for everyone learning in every environment, because we're not creatures that are meant to be still and not engaging with our environment and not moving.
But I think that the problem is they don't know how to do this, because a lot of times that crossover is not in the public school system. Right. I know I say that a lot, and but we want you to have it, right? So that's why the No Limits method has these elements of teaching inside of these micro-credentials that really tells you how to do that, and gives a parent an idea of why their child cognitively isn't moving forward. And I personally believe over time, the cognitive part is really based on that physical part a lot, that regulation that we have.
It's all completely tied together, and it has to happen simultaneously, So while we can get doses of physical activity, right? We think of traditional models where they may have recess and then they can come in and focus better. That works in certain scenarios to kind of have little doses of input, and then it lasts for a while. But sometimes we need certain things to happen at the same time. So whether we need to bounce our knee or whether we chew gum or whether we do certain things to regulate ourselves determines how we attend and how we're able to process information. And I've had parents explain that once they've put these things into practice with following the method, that they just didn't realize that, hey, my kid needed to be a little bit wiggly on a chair to be able to learn this math concept. It doesn't seem connected, but it is. That if that allows them to be focused and attentive, we don't want distracting things, but we want to find the right things that help them. So yes, we're not standing on our head and doing lessons, but we're doing things that are enough of a challenge that we're engaging.
Yeah, and there's so much that we can do. I mean, for a child who can sit on their own, you could put like an air disc underneath them. So that provides a little bit of movement, while they're doing a lesson or something. So you're providing the movement that they're seeking. If you have a child who's ambulatory and they keep moving out of their chair all the time, giving them that dynamic surface in their seat, they're able to sit, attend, but they're still getting the movement that they seek. So there's different things that, the No Limits method teaches you in things to look for. What is it that they're seeking? What kind of movement are they seeking? Mm-hmm. How can you satisfy that, what they're actually seeking? So, for a child who is in a wheelchair, obviously with the instructions of the therapist, they're going to tell you, okay, they can go in a stander, they can go in a walker or a gait trainer, but being out of their chairs throughout the day to give them that opportunity for movement, but going on the floor even. So there's, so much that you can do in your classroom to allow that opportunity for movement.
This is exactly why we see adults moving into like standing desks and all the popular things that you see evolve into the workforce for those very same reasons, that some people do much better standing. That's not everybody, but some people do. We have chairs that move for a reason. Mm-hmm. We need to be able to wiggle or move for some people. Mm-hmm. And we have to learn what those kids need, and we have to provide it.
And so what we're saying is across the board of kids with unique abilities, whether that's autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, a genetic disorder, anything, there are those gauges that we have to find to get that ability to learn to a greater process for them. And a lot of times that comes in the OT and PT realm, a little bit in the behavioral realm, but doesn't come in a teaching realm, right? So speak to that of there is that that teacher that's sitting there trying her best, right? But doesn't have the resources.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges is that the environments aren't set up to support that.
Yes.
The equipment may not be available, and it's not all fancy equipment. It's just the right thing for those kids. And just needing a little more guidance on how to put it together so that it's not separated. It's not movement versus teaching. It's together. It's all of it together effectively. Right. And what that looks like.
Right.
And that's why the method is a therapeutic education, because we are incorporating all of those into the education. So it's...
And we've done it here at No Limits Academy.
Exactly. We've done it here, yes.
Mm-hmm. And you see the results. You see the impact right away, that the kids are a lot more engaged and they're retaining and learning more information. One other aspect with just moving in general is kind of also that ability to learn about the environment and about concepts that they're trying to understand when you are perhaps someone who doesn't move independently on your own. You don't perceive the world the same way when you're always in one position and you can't interact with it in some traditional ways. So we need to guide through that. We need to take children into experiences that allow them to see the world from the floor level and from a higher level and from sideways and from, looking under and looking over and all the different concepts that they're trying to learn. When you get into math concepts, when you get into spatial awareness, all the different things. A lot of science doesn't make sense without being able to experience. So that kind of goes to many topics, but I think that's part of it too, is you have to experience certain things to learn certain things. It's very hard to understand the weight of an object when you've not felt the weight of an object, when you can't hold it.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to have, the therapeutic team, the therapist, be involved in the education so that they can guide the team to know exactly what positions, what are the things that are appropriate for that child and what's not, so there might be contraindications, precautions to certain positions and movements for each child. So having that professional look at that aspect, the medical aspect, and then determine what's best for them.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for being here at the No Limits Method podcast for Unique Abilities. This is what we do here. We've connected No Limits Academy, No Limits Method, and Ability Plus Therapy to create this, I call it a Shangri-La, to really help children with unique abilities. So check us out, subscribe, and have a great day.